Welcome to another episode of the Black Wealth Creator Podcast, where we help uplift the Black community through financial education. Welcome back to the podcast. Yo, first of all, I just want to say I apologize for missing Friday's episode. Kind of a big deal. I had a baby. Well, not me personally, but my wife had a baby. And so that's why I kind of missed Friday's episode. I apologize that I didn't shoot one in advance. I had the lesson ready, but it just did not get enough time to actually film the video. So I do apologize for that. But I have a video today. And today we're going to be talking about credit score. We're going to be talking about what is the credit score. We're going to be talking about the importance of the credit score. And at the end, stay to the end of the video, we're going to talk about how you can improve your credit score. What is the credit score? The credit score is the consumer's credit worthiness. And normally it's a financial tool that lenders use to evaluate the people asking for a loan. They normally range from 300 to 850. So let's break down the ranges. The score ranges are, for someone to say you have a poor credit score, that means you have a score of 300 to 579. That is pretty poor, so that's a poor credit score. You have a fair credit score if you are from 580 to 669. Next, a good credit score. You say, well, what is good credit? Good credit is from 670 to 739. Very good credit is from 740 to 799. And then excellent credit is 800 to 850. So anything above 800 is considered excellent credit. So another part of the credit score is the actual factors of the credit score. So your credit score is based off of 5 factors: your payment history, your total amount owed, the length of your credit history, the types of credit, and new credit. So when the person looks at your credit score, it represents those 5 areas, and it's 35% payment history. I mean, did you pay on time? Do you have anything delinquent? Do you tend to pay every other month? Like, are you delinquent past due 30 days? Are you past due 60 days? Are you past due 90 days? 120 days, or how far past do you tend to run your account? So that's credit history. That's 35%. Next, total amount owed. You might also see this as credit usage, your usage rate. This is about 30% of your credit score, and this just means that, okay, if you got $5,000 in credit cards, how much of that $5,000 do you actually use? Like, how much money do you actually owe? And then also it may be in terms of auto loans or loans in general. How much do you actually owe on those loans? But that credit usage is real big when it's in terms of that 30%. Using that credit usage. That's why sometimes they and then we'll talk about this later, they don't recommend you closing out credit cards. They say, let's keep the balance, pay your balance down to 0 and just keep the available credit on there. That way it looks better for you with that 30%. And then 15% for the length of credit history. Some people don't even have credit history, 18, 19. If you don't, unless you have a credit card or a car note that your parents might help you get or whatever, you don't really have any credit. So they're just looking like, okay, how much, like what's their credit history? And if you got some accounts on your thing, that's why another reason they say don't close accounts, you just keep them as long as you can. Because if I look at a person who has 2 years of credit history versus a person who has 18 years of credit history, and they could be the same age, but this person only got 2, I'm going to be like, why do you only have 2 years of credit history? Like what happened in your past? Because you should have accumulated some credit on some accounts or whatever. Even if they got paid off, they would still show up on your account or whatever. So you just kind of like looking at that person sideways. But that's why it's important to develop a credit history. Next, the type of credits. You want to have that diversified. Like, they'll look like, oh, this person's got a whole bunch of credit cards. Like, but do you have credit cards, auto loans, student loans, mortgages, like those, all the different types of credit that you can have, a line of credit, all these different things. Like, that's 10% of your credit history or credit score. And it's like, if you have a great diversified portfolio, then it looks better for you. And then lastly, number 5 is new credit. Does this person apply for a new credit card every other week or every other month? Like so, and then they get one every other month. When a lender looks at it, they're like, whoa, this person is kind of unstable in terms of they keep applying for it, and whether they are maxing out those or using, it's just still weird to just have a whole bunch of new credit on your credit score. Once again, the credit score is the lender, or it's just a financial tool in the market that tells lenders how likely are you to pay back what you are due or what you borrow. So let's say a potential lender might look at a person with a poor credit score of like 305 and be like, this person is not going to pay me back. So if I give them some money, they're just not going to pay me back. And so that's why we want to keep our credit score excellent, or most of us don't. I mean, it's hard to get an excellent credit score, but you at least want it to be good and very good. So we want to get to that good, very good range, and then we can begin to utilize the credit system. Why is it important? While I was explaining what a credit score was, I almost told you why it was important. But remember in this example, I was saying, like, if a lender saw a person with a 300 credit score and they say like, oh, that person isn't good, they're not likely to pay me back. So a lot of times most creditors or most lenders will just say deny you for the loan, especially if you're in the 300s, you're gonna probably get denied. But if you're like in that high 5, if you're in the fair credit score range, you might get approved for the loan, but what that means is you're gonna get it at a much, much, much higher interest rate. So let's say you're trying to get a car and they look at you and they say, oh, well, you got fair credit. So first of all, you might have to put down a large down payment. So they're like, well, you got to make, like, if we looking at a fair credit score of 595, they're like, that means that person maybe they will, maybe they won't pay us back. So they're like, you got to give us something to sweeten the pot to give you the loan. And the reason you need the loan is because you're trying to get the car that you need. If you don't put any money down, they're going to deny you. So they might say, well, do you have $500 to put down? And you say, I got $500 to put down. And they say, okay, well, cool. You got $500 to put down. We can probably get you in this range of vehicle, and your car payment is going to be around this much, and your interest rate is going to be 15%. And you're like, oh, well, I mean, the car payments may sound like, man, okay. And then it might work for you. But when you, as we know on this channel, as I'm trying to grow us on this channel and teach us on this channel, high interest rate means that's not good for us. Like, we're gonna pay more money in interest than we will towards the actual product. So 15% interest rate on a car is considered high. So normally you want on the definitely lower than 10% range. You're trying to actually get your cars around the 6-7%. You're doing pretty good. I mean 4-3%. You're awesome. So so you're just trying to get your car payments down as low as possible, because otherwise you're going to be paying 15% of the life of that loan is going to go towards interest. So that's the importance of the credit score, of having a good credit score, because good credit score means this person looks at your loan and say, oh, well, they got very good credit score. That means that I'm going to give them a loan at 2% interest or with no money down. So, and then it plays the same way with buying a house. Oh, this person has really good credit score. Their credit history is really good, and and so they're good to go. Yes. So that's the importance of the credit score. It really does determine what kind of loans you will be approved for, and then that will in turn show how much debt that you have going out when we're doing debt to income calculations for mortgages and stuff like that. So that's why it's just super important to have the best credit possible. How to improve your credit score. So how do you improve your credit score? You improve your credit score, and these are just a few that I found that I'll go over right quick to just end this lesson. So pay bills on time. So of course, like we talked about it, a portion of the credit score is your credit is your payment history. And if you're paying your bills on time It's the website that's all said 6 months of paying your bills on time will increase your credit score if you know you were like on the lower range because you haven't been paying it on time. So 6 months of paying your bills on time, paying everything on time will increase your credit score. Up your credit limit. When we talked about this, when we're talking about how much you owe and credit usage, if you up your credit limit, and sometimes if you're in good standings with that card, you can call and like, hey, can I get a bump on my credit limit? And they'll look at your history and be like, okay, well, you don't max out all the time, whatever. So they may actually bump you up to the next level of, another 1,000 or 2,000. And that just looks better on your credit score because available credit wise, it's like, oh, this person has $10,000 in available credit and they're only using 1,000 of it, versus this person who has $5,000 in the credit and they're using 1,000 of it. Like it can be the same 1,000 in balance, but if you got 10,000 in available credit, then that's only 10%, and so that looks really good on your credit score. Whereas the other person, if you got instead of 5,000, let's say you only got 2,000, but you owe 1,000 of the 2,000, then it looks like 50%, and that's gonna look bad for your credit score. So it just lets you know, like, if you can up that limit, like call that person up, hey, or call that credit card up, and like, hey, can I up my limit? The only thing I only have like one caveat with that. If you are impulsive in nature, like you tend to spend credit card, or if you get extra money, you tend to spend. Don't do that. Like, don't take that advice, because the simple fact is the best thing for you to do would be to cut up your credit card, and because you just have to get a control on your spending. If you're just like an impulsive spender and spend, upping your credit limit is just gonna hurt you in the long run. So I will put that caveat in there to make sure that you know your spending habits, like really know your spending habits. Number 3, don't close credit cards, or don't close credit card accounts. Pay them off, pay them down, get them to zero balance, whatever. I definitely agree with that. But don't close them. And I'll tell you a quick story. I remember I was coming out of college or whatever, and I had, in this particular card I was trying to close, and I closed it. But this particular card, I had a little bit of a balance on it too. And remember, we were already talking about credit. We talked about credit usage in terms of they're looking at the overall percentage. So I had I think I had like a couple more credit cards. So I had about maybe $5,000 of available credit. I was using about $5,000 of overall credit. I'm sorry, and I was using about 2,000 of that. So 5,000, they put me about 40% already, right? So on the particular card, I owe maybe 1,000 on it. So, but this card had like a $2,000 balance or whatever. So I was 50% on the card, but I owed $1,000 on it, and my overall is 5,000. So I called the people, I want to close my card. I want to close my card. I want to close the card. I'm just trying to, I'm gonna get ahead of my finance, whatever. So I want to close my card, and should have done research, and all the research tells you, and everybody tells you, do not close credit cards. Just leave them open, pay them off. Just leave it open, because that available balance, that available credit just looks good on your credit score. So I close it. Boom. They say, okay, if you want to, okay, boom. I close it. My balance stayed the same, but now my available credit went down to zero for that $2,000 card. So I owe 1,000 on it, but my available balance is zero, so I'm over limit now. It looks like it appears that I'm over limit. So now my $5,000 that I owe $2,000 on is now down to $3,000, and I owe $2,000 of the $3,000. So now I'm in the 66% range, 67% range of credit card usage, which is which is bad. If you use Credit Karma, that's bad for your credit score. So I just, if you want to increase your credit score, do not close your cards. Pay them down. That's paying them down, paying them on time, pay them down, and then you'll be straight. But do not close those credit card accounts. And then lastly, try credit repair. I don't have anybody to send it to or anything like that. You got to do your own research on that. But there is some that work out there. So just be careful. Do your research. I may do a lesson on credit repair but it's not something I'm super familiar with. So I got to do my own research on it. Then I can let you guys know. But people have come out of they'll send out letters on your behalf and talk to people and talk to your creditors and get you lower payments and stuff like that if they can. But a lot of that stuff you can do yourself if you just do a little bit more research and be willing to hear the word no or hear the word like, like if you're willing to put in the work to do it. But yeah, try credit repair, and that'll definitely increase your credit score as well. So on this lesson, we just talked about credit scores, the importance of them, what they are, as well as how to increase them. So I hope you gained something on today. This has been another episode of the Black Wealth Creator Podcast, where we help uplift the Black community through financial education. Remember, getting money is easy, but building wealth takes time and effort. Anybody can do it, especially you. Be blessed.